Welcome back, Ryan. Cars. It's collapsing. Car market is imploding. The car bubble is gonna burst. The I don't know. I watch car videos of car related videos, right? And I don't know, I see tons of those videos like that. Some people that's all they talk about is or title their videos, I guess. Maybe it gets clicks. I'm gonna see. I actually think I'm gonna title this one car car market is crashing or something along those lines. The car bubble's going to burst. Car market is crashing, I think is the one that comes up the most. I'll have to Google the title. Maybe I'll do that. The car market, and I've been saying this since I started my YouTube channel this year. It's a mess. It's in a weird place right now. And I can see why people are, because, you don't know what's going on. What traditionally has been happening throughout the years of car things before the pandemic. Actually, I'll cut it off. Car market. When did it get weird? Yeah, I'll cut it off at about 2018. Cut it off at about 2018, 2019, I guess. I don't know about that because, well, I shouldn't say that. I was second guessing myself about saying that because I was about to say, car makers, auto dealerships, sort of thing. They were starting to add on just extra fees on top of cars for no reason before the pandemic started. And but the thing is that that's happened before in certain circumstances throughout the car history industry of the North America anyway. And car dealers have done that. But what's happening now is after the pandemic, well, during the pandemic, we'll say that it changed things, global supply and things like that. The stuff, go global. We were all sold this story. Go global, and it'll make everything better, more accessible, cheaper, easier. You know, we're fed the rose-colored glasses story of globalization, let's say, right? And then the crisis hits there in the pandemic, and all of a sudden, can't find parts, can't find microchips, can't build these, can't build that. Cars that are supposed to come with certain things, like mine, didn't come with them because it couldn't make them. Um, Theory, it's deducted off the price. However, the cars are more expensive than ever, and there's extra added things they're putting on the cars because they just can for no reason as a way to increase profits. And this is one thing that's really gone on here. Um, and I think the last time something like this happened was when the imports invaded North United States, the North American market, and the big three in Detroit suddenly found out that the cars were crap and overpriced. But because imports were coming in and people were buying those because they were better cars and they were cheaper or even the same price, let's say. But it just didn't cost as much for those cars, and people wanted that more than they wanted the big three. Being fed whatever the big three shoved down their throats, right? And that's kind of what's happening here. Big automakers and auto dealers, franchise, are doing that have been doing that now since the pandemic, and I think people are sick about it. Because here's the thing: people aren't buying cars anymore, right? New cars are too expensive, and that's, I think, what I say a lot. The other thing that I don't say, um, and I think I really don't say it because come to I've had this thing where you can't get around it. You can't get around dealing with an auto dealer. You have to go in there and talk to a salesman and go through the sales process and all that whole shibbity doo sleight of hand, double speak, negotiating thing to buy a car, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I did do a deal on this car, but generally speaking, if I like a car, I see the price, I'll just pay for it. I'm just that kind of I'm like, I don't want to deal with the hassle. I don't want to deal with the stress. You make your money. I see the value in it. I'm not here because I like to negotiate. I'm not here because I think I can get a better deal. I'm not here because I'm cheap and I want to pay as little for the car as possible. Anything like that. I see a car, I like it, I see the value in it. This is the price. Okay, I can do that, and I will just buy it. You know. And usually, what happens when I do that, they will throw stuff in and won't add it to the final total. You know, which makes me a happy customer. Makes me want to say, "Hey, go buy a car there," to other people, and they get to make a really decent profit off of me for coming in and being hassle free. And it usually ends up being that way, you know. So there is a thought of car dealers, going completely out of business. They are. There's a big shift change happening right now, so somebody's gonna be making a lot of money during this time. People are gonna be losing their shirts like crazy in the car industry, but there's gonna be a few there sitting back who are gonna be capitalizing on all of this. It's usually what happens when it's weird like this, right? Turmoil. Those who are sitting waiting it out watching are waiting to pounce, right? So yeah, this is what's happening in the United States is that you know franchise car dealers and even independent guys are going bankrupt and going out of business and are really really struggling, right? Because people aren't buying cars. And the other thought about this is people aren't buying cars because, and I don't say it enough, it's not because cars are too expensive. It's because people are actually sick of dealing with dealers, of having, here, take it. This is what you get. This is all you're being offered. And if you don't want something, you get nothing, you know? And, you know, people being sold, and it's not just car prices anymore. It's not. It's there's it's super complicated because now there's auto loans and things like that involved in this where people have gotten used to buying with negative equity attached to their new purchases, right? And auto loan never used to do that. Auto loan companies never, banks would not do that sort of thing, but it's become normal and commonplace now. Kind of the same thing that happened with real estate. They're giving anybody loans, super inflated loans, and dealerships are making kickbacks and stuff off of this, right? Like, it's a real shady behind the scenes thing going on that isn't on the up and up when you get your bill to pay your car and you sign for your loan, right? And I really do think people are sick of they don't want to go to the dealer because it is something where it's leaves you feeling dirty. Like you got to go in there and slimy thing that I got to go buy something from, and they got all kinds of tricks and stuff up their sleeve. Like I don't know where my money's going. I would, and here's the thing, like and I'm dealing with a small local community based dealership with servicing my car, and I actually haven't dealt with that ever in my life. I grew up in a big city. I moved to a different city that was well established with great big franchise, you know, car dealerships sort of thing. And we actually stayed away from them. We would get our stuff serviced at, a second party, like a third party, that did warranty work sort of thing. And they treated us well and they fixed what they had to fix. And it was just better. We didn't have to go into the dealership and deal with salespeople or anything like that, or deal with getting the emails for, you know, oh, try this, this is on sale. Oh, we're now, rebate day or employee pricing and all of that stuff. When you go to the dealership and you get service at a dealership, they also, you have to deal with the advertising and ads and things, right? You can't just go in and get your car serviced because while you're sitting there waiting, the salesman comes around, or you'll get up and you go and look at a car or go to the bathroom. Oh, have you been helped? Have you been helped? Have you been helped? Have you been helped? you know, which is kind of nice that so many people want to help you, but that's not the truth, right? It's like, oh, you're a potential lead. I should talk to you, right? Where I take it to the third party guy. It's like, here's the car. This is what needs to be done. I think, or this is what it sounds like. This is kind of what's happened. Yeah, I'll have a look at it and then go back to pick up the bill. He's like, yeah, this was this, and potential this, and this is what today's bill is. In the future, you might want to look at these. Give you a couple of pages, and you can go home and read it and ignore it. Start saving money. Uh, yeah, and car dealers are going under, and there's a good reason why. There is, not just from a financial standpoint and how they, finance the cars that they're selling and stuff like that, but on the other end, it's people don't want to deal with that shit anymore. They really don't. On the other end, you can go buy your Genesis here in Canada online only, and they deliver it to your door. Right, I've seen lots of those cars. They don't have any really good resale or anything like that. But it's no hassle, no real hassle. Build it online. That's the price. Click buy. Go through the financing page, or put in your credit card number. Right. The, you know the other thing with the car market is because nobody wants to buy brand new vehicles anymore because they are so expensive. Right. That used cars coming up are also also, I think, stupidly priced, which is good if you own one and are putting it on the secondhand market. But trying to find buyers now is very difficult because somebody's got to come up with cash for that big price or find financing somewhere, right? And most of the time, it's going to be financing, and the rates aren't as good as new cars and things like that. And so people just right now are sticking with their old cars because it is getting to be ridiculous to switch out your car, which is kind of bad because cars over the last little while haven't been that reliable. So the money, instead of making payments, or if you still are making payments on your old car, you're now faced with repair bills out of warranty, right? And big ones, 3,000, 5,000. Some cases, $15,000 where you just leave it there and say, I'm washing my hands of this one. Crush it. I'm taking the bus. I'm using my mom's car. And it's been a long time since the car market has been this way. I don't think it's happened in my, car buying lifetime, I guess, but I think it has happened while I've been alive. Like I'm talking about the big three thing and that mess that happened there. Um, I guess the 2008, 2009 crisis where they had to save the big three. They're too big to fail. And then you help these people out, by paying your taxes and the government giving them loans and things like that. And then all they do is, instead of helping out the regular person who's paying for their whatever, they've just gone after profits. And at a time during the pandemic when it was difficult, people were out of work, things like that, that was even worse. Went right for the throat. They wanted everything you had, and it was so predatory. Now, normally, I try not to put a bad spin on car dealers. It is a tough job. You do meet, they're not that way behind the scenes and all of that shadowy tactics because it's you have to do that. The people that do come through the doors are also just as shady. And so this game does have to be played. If you're a straight up person and you go into a car, you don't fit in, right? Because usually, you know, it's never that way. If you've ever run a business, you know what I'm talking about. It's nice if you've got a long list of customers that you built where it's just straight up business, black and white. It takes a long time, but you get the people that come in through the doors are just as shady as if you are just as shady. I'm not saying you attract what you attract. I'm saying that's just what people are out there. And in order to make things work, it has to be convoluted and complicated. I had a bad growing up. I had a bad bias towards car dealerships and car salesmen. You know, I had a bad view of them. And so I decided, let's find out what this is about. I went and worked at one. And I worked for a reputable, I worked for Toyota. It was a Toyota car dealer in the city that I lived in. And it was the oldest. It was one of the oldest dealerships in that city, but it was still there. I mean, from the beginning, like when it started, a lot of them had moved around and rebuilt and changed names and, sort of thing. But they were the oldest Toyota dealership in there anyway. And I thought, okay, I'll just go. It's Toyota. I don't have to sell slide. I don't trust domestics, right? Like I think they're crappy cars, and I didn't want to be selling people a crappy product because I would not feel clean, right? So I got to be up and up about Toyota. It's good. It's done. But the people that did come through, and I wasn't even a good salesman. I sucked. I was terrible at it, right? I was naive, we'll say. I thought people just came in to buy cars, and that's a small percentage of what's going on there. People go in there for all sorts of different reasons. Not be, not because they want a Toyota. Everyone wants a Toyota. People would go in there try to get deals. They would try to find out how our pricing worked. They would like to get driven around town to appointments. People would come in and do test drives for that. I saw it happen. And all the while you're working on commission, and you know, you do have people wasting your time. You do. And you can be kind, nice, straightforward, upfront, and a lot of people, the majority of the people, they don't know what to handle. They don't know what to do when that happens. I don't know what it is. So I thought everybody wanted an honest, straightforward, black and white salesperson or whatever. But when I was like that, I never sold a car. No, people walked away from Toyota. But when I started playing the salesman game thing, started selling cars and had happy people telling their literally telling their friends and family to, hey, this guy who bought your this Toyota off of you, and really liked how you handle, and I'd like to come down and talk with you. So I'm looking at buying a new car too. Yeah, come on down. And I thought that was strange, because that's when I started playing the salesman game, the dealership sales process stuff, right? Which, underhanded, shady, shifty back and forth, right? Um, so I learned there that it's nice to point a finger and say, oh, the slimy salesman, shady dealership tactics. It isn't just that. They're like that for a reason, because the majority of people that come through the doors are weird, man. They they're weird. They are weird. And the sales process was set up in a way so that all that weirdness could be taken care of if you follow this simple set of parameters, right? And yeah, you know, and I did when I bought this car, I did play that game because I knew the game, but I wasn't, I know the game. I know how it's played. No, I went in there honestly, and I did sell for Toyota, and I'm just make a deal on this car, but I needed to do certain things for me financially, and just went through the process. And the process takes as long as it takes to get to where you got to get, and it worked, and they were willing and able, and I had a good experience, and it was just I'm sitting there doing it with this car, and I'm sitting in the dealership, and it took 6 hours or something. I can't remember. I went into the dealership at about, so I was off at like 1:30, so I had to be at the dealership by about 2:15, 2:30. Let's say 2:30, and I didn't leave till 9:30. So what is that? 6, 7 hours. Can't do math right now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9:30. So 7 hours at the dealership, which was worth it. Well, because the price of this car, the MSRP, and this is even when I was working at Toyota, I was taught by the sales manager. She's like, so the MSRP is a suggested retail price of the car that the manufacturer puts a label on for the market it's destined for. Depending on what's going on at the dealership, where it is situated, things like that, the cost of things, blah, 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 you can mess with that price, you know. So what we have a car listed for sale will be different usually than whatever the MSRP is. Sometimes it'll be lower. It's not rare. It's just not normal. It does happen, It does happen. But it's not a big unheard of thing. But most of the time it's above. Not a whole lot, but above. And so the MSRP was kind of a guiding point for a dealership to sell a car. it lets the consumer know an expectation, of what the dealership kind of needs, what the manufacturer and the dealership have come to. There's a kind of an agreement on what they need out of this car in order for things to function, so that you can come down with on sales day with balloons off the windshield wipers. So, you know, and there are shady people in it. Of course, I'm not gonna deny that at all, right? But for the most part, really good salespeople are really honest, straightforward people, and they aren't the shady people. They skip around. They do, and they tend to collect more shady people, and so you'll end up at a shady dealership, right? But for the most part, it's just people trying to make a living, sort of thing, and they're not there because they're trying to get one over on somebody or anything like that. The sales process is fun, and you do meet all kinds of people, and that is fun. And you get to see new cars all the time. Like that was awesome too, right? Like, I mean, so if you're a car person, go work at a dealership for a while. Absolutely. The thing, yeah. So car market is a mess. It is a mess right now. Is it failing? Is there a bubble bursting? Who knows? Who cares? It's supposed to have burst 3 years ago. But, you know, people aren't buying cars, and that's a problem. Now, and here's the other problem with this, because it was fixed back in the 70s or whatever, when the big three were taking a hit for the imports. People were moving. They stopped buying American cars, and they started buying Japanese cars, right? The the sales focus. But here's the thing: the people buying cars, it's nowhere. People have stopped buying new cars. People have stopped buying used cars. People are hanging on to their old cars, and this is something that's not happened. I think that's what is kind of the big deal. And people don't want to go to the dealership anymore, deal with the dealer, because they're sick of it again. Again, sick of it again. Tired of being taken advantage of in the dealership, not being taken care of. You know. So where's it gonna end? I don't know. I don't know. Tell me in the comments what your thoughts are. Is it all gonna go online? Hmm. Here in America, Canada and United States right now, there's a tariff war thing sort of happening right now. Uh, Stupidity. Has nothing to do with cars, or has nothing to do with tariffs. It has nothing to do with goods and services. It doesn't. It's about something else. Like, look here while we do this. Yeah, tell me in the comments what you think. What's going to be going on with the car market? Like, what's going on right now, what you're seeing, I think putting that down there, letting other people know what's going on, like where, the kind of area you're in, Western United States, I don't know, Northern Canada, Eastern Canada. If it's the same story, or if it's different, that would be good. Or what the story just is. This is what's kind of going on. This is what I'm seeing when I went out to look for a used car. Stuff that I used to look for is now harder to find and more expensive, or I don't know. You know, oh no, down here it's free for all, man. Everything's cheap. You can buy anything for $500. you know, yeah. I don't know. I'm not bubble this, bubble that. I don't know. It's fear talk. Fear talk. Don't listen to fear talk. Even though I'm gonna title this video with fear talk, and just to see how it does. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Any new insights into this? No. Well, I don't know. I did mention the small dealer thing, right? Like, so I got this small independent dealer I take this car to, and they don't care about profits as much as they care about their name in the community, right? And that is a big deal. They have shrunk their inventory. When I first got here, they had tons of like 2022s and 2023s on the lot. It's a big lot, and I just slowly watched the inventory shrink. Now I go out there. There's very few, very few, and even fewer on. No, no, I shouldn't say that. Very. So there's a used lot that they have, and I haven't posted the video, but they have do have this, and there's about I don't know 20 cars there or something like that. But I go onto the new lot, and there's even fewer, and it's like, yeah, the car market's a mess. People aren't buying cars. They are selling cars, but they're not moving a lot of inventory, and they're not trying to push it on people. And I go there, and they actually talk honestly. They tell me stuff that they shouldn't be telling me because I know the sales process, right? And that's because they need their name to be good in the community. And they do want people to come and buy when they can buy and they can help people buy, sort of thing. Whereas a big franchise in a big city, they don't care about you. They don't care about the community. They don't care. They do not care. They do not care. They'll say they care because they need you to come back to get business because it's an extra lead. But in general speaking, no, they do not care. They do not care. They're they need people through the doors and out the doors as fast as possible, and they got to move inventory. You know, and it's a different thing going on here. It is because it is so small. And I would tell people to go buy from them. I would. I would only because they're treating me well, of course. We've worked out our differences with this Hornet, right? And things are going well with that. And then the other thing is that actually this Dodge product is really good. There's a few Dodge products that are good, but some that aren't good at all. I'm not going to get into that, but people will buy what they want to buy. Like people don't want to buy good cars. They don't. People just want to buy what they want to buy. That's what I learned in car sales. I'm selling Toyotas, but people would go up and buy like Chevy. I don't want Ford F-150. I don't want a Tundra. This was back in 2008 when everything was good. Everything Toyota made was bulletproof, even the hybrids, right? I want the Chevy hybrid. Okay, thanks for tuning in. If you're new, thank you for watching this long. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications for whoever has been subscribed and still watching. And I appreciate the viewership, and I'll see you on the next one.